Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACTN. Always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 to 9, where we bring you the news, the views, and all the interviews pertaining to sport in Trinidad and Tobago. Before I introduce my co-host, let me just first say a big hello to the inmates and the officers at Rise Maximum Radio. They're always locked on to ACTN. It's good to have you all on board. My co-host is the lovely Maria Thomas, and we are continuing our series in the sport of rugby. As you know, we had all planned here on this program to ever so often highlight the sport of rugby because we felt that is necessary because of the success that both the men and the ladies players have been given Trinidad and Tobago. So Maria, it's a pleasure. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for being with us this evening. This evening, we are speaking with Nicolette Pantor. She is a well-known rugby player, and she has done a lot of exciting things in rugby. She has been a huge part of many club teams and national team. She is the current national team captain, and there's so much that we could say about Nicolette Pantor. I'd just like to welcome you to the show, and maybe you can start out with a little bit of how you got into rugby.
Sure. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, I started playing rugby at the age probably around 7 or 8 years old. I started playing rugby, where I was involved with looking at games in Port of Spain with my dad. He plays for Trinidad and Tobago Defence Force rugby team. Also, my mother, who is the manager of Exiles Rugby Club. Going up to games in Port of Spain, I would practice playing rugby. From there, I played
You
with
want to explain what rugby?
Okay.
What are they for the viewers?
All right. Rugby is basically touch rugby, where you would have different ages. If you're not really too familiar with the contact of the sport, you would play the touch rugby, which is also considered rugby. Same rules applies. You're passing backwards, you're taking the ball forward, scoring a try and stuff. But the only thing is no contact. It's basically touch rugby.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. After that, in South, I live South, so there was never any female rugby team where I could be involved in. So I would always have to play with the boys. And playing with those boys, it gives you a little edge when you do have to play with females, but at the same time, you'd always have to work twice as harder to match their level. Because as a girl, you always have to, work twice as harder to measure up to a boy. Yeah, I played there for a while, where after that I was offered an opportunity by the national women's coach at the time, which is almost, I think, 10 years ago, to try out for the women's national rugby team. At the time, they were playing 15-a-side rugby. I did so, and the coach had liked what she saw, and she included me on the squad. And from there, my national rugby had started, basically. And ever since, I continued with the sport, and the sport kept growing, and I also kept leveling up. Yeah.
You're from a family of rugby players. Your mom, your dad, plus your two brothers, right? What is it like living in a house where everybody plays the same sport?
Well, it's really amazing because I get to live with stars, how to call it like that. Also, it's very competitive. Things that we may do at home, we would be like, well, I am the better rugby player, and we would have to prove that. And we would do so with achievements and comparing who has the most trophies and who has the most medals. Because our family have a sporting background, not only in rugby, but my brother, he plays football. I used to run track. So everything that we do is basically a fun competition in the household to keep the achievements coming and coming. Yeah.
Nicolette, do you want to speak a little bit about your most recent achievement as the nomination for the First Citizens Sports Foundation Award?
Sure. Well, 2017, I was nominated for as you said, the First Citizens Sports Award. It's a really amazing opportunity. I would not have been afforded the opportunity without the team because there's no I in team.
Yeah.
So I got to represent the Trinidad and Tobago women's rugby team to show them that, you know, this little small fry representing the whole women's rugby team, because we all put in the hard work, and I was just, you know, so blessed to be able to represent them, and it was a really amazing experience.
You know, when I looked at rugby, you know, well, first Maria, and then I saw you, you know, I was always the impression, well, when I look at rugby in years going by, you always see these big, huge, you know, individuals, both male and female. And to see these little tiny little girls like you all, you know, playing this physical sport.
We're not tiny.
You know, and it's actually physical, because, I mean, sometimes, you know, I see clothesline, you know, all these other things. You know, when you got into the sport, were you fearful or any, I mean, yes, your mom and your dad and your brothers, right? But as a female, were you kind of skeptical when you got into it, or were you prepared because of the lifestyle at home getting into the sport?
I was prepared because, as I said, I used to look at rugby from very young. So basically, I knew that the sport would have had contact, and I knew that being a part of the national team or any team in rugby, that I would have to, you know, toughen up and take that contact, and also do tackles and stuff. So I basically was prepared mentally before I got into it. Yeah.
What position you?
Well, I play basically any position in the line, which is fly half position, mostly a receiving role. You basically create plays, also you defend, you do a lot of talking. I could play center, and I could also play on the wing, where mostly you show your ability to run, your agility, your fitness levels are really tested in those positions.
Could you recall your first game where you actually went into competition?
Yeah. My first game where I went into competition would have been in Guyana. That was the first time I ever was selected on the national women's sevens team. Now, at that time, like, I'm slim now, but at that time, I was really small. Really small.
Smaller than how you were?
Yeah, really small and shorter, because I had no, I believe I had no right SCA or something like that. So I was really tiny. And
that's the senior team?
Yeah. The first opportunity I had gotten to play on the pitch, it was probably the last 2 minutes of a game. 7-a-side rugby is 15 minutes for the game, 7 minutes for the first half, 7 minutes for the second half, and you get a period, probably a minute or two for the halftime break. Now, I was placed on the field the second half of the game, the last 2 minutes of the game, and I remember the coach saying, just go out there and have fun. You have nothing to lose. So me, now being small, I don't really have, as she said, I don't really have anything to lose, but I looking at all these huge girls, and I am just a small fry on the field, and me having to get a ball from Juliana Straker, that's the captain at the time. She passed the ball to me, and she said, just run, Nico. So I did just that, I just run, but I was running for my life, because I saying, like, oh my gosh, if anybody tackles me, and me being this small on the field. But at the end of the day, I mean, the support that the players gave to me, Julie was right there, straight to the end. I actually carried the ball from, I believe it was the 22-meter line on our side, straight to the 22-meter line on their side. I had never scored, but it made me realize that, yeah, I wanted more of this. I wanted to be part of this rugby team, and I knew that this sport is for me, because the adrenaline rush I got when I received that ball, it was one that can't be compared to no other. I mean, I had to be involved in the sport. Yeah.
You spoke about being mentally prepared for playing rugby. Now, I know a lot of time we look at your size, your strength, your speed, your agility, and those aspects, but can you speak a little bit, especially as you mentioned your position being a playmaker, what kind of mental process has to go on in the field to create those types of plays?
Well, most of the times you would have to envision the games before the games even happen. You think of basically scenarios like when you're not playing that may happen on the pitch, so that where the scenario presents itself, that you already mentally, like, you think of that before. So therefore, when you face it on the field, you're able to critically think and make the plays that you saw before happen on the pitch. Now, if certain things don't go as planned on the pitch, that mentally preparing from before also makes you prepared to cope with those stuff.
Okay, all right. How many tours have you been on with the national team?
Wow. It has been so many tours. I could give you what I remember. Started from my first tour, which I'll always remember, to Guyana. I believe that was in 2013. And from then, I have been to places like Barbados, Cayman Islands. I also been to Martinique to play rugby, Ireland. I've been to United States of America, various states in America, and Mexico. The list goes on. There are so many countries that I've been to that I can't even remember all.
Right, so it's provided a lot of opportunity.
Yes, it has. Rugby has given me a lot of opportunity.
How is balancing your national team career with club?
Well, at the moment, I play for Police Rugby Club. So national training usually Monday, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and the Police Rugby Club trains on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So what I try to do, I try to give some of my time towards the Police Rugby team and also as much time towards the national rugby team so that no one feels left behind. There are days when I can't make training, club training, but I try to always communicate to make it known when I could come and when I can't come to, keep up that level of professionalism. Yeah.
But how do you manage all three? Because I'm including your work now because you're a police officer.
Yeah.
Right? So you have work, you have club training, and you have national training. How do you incorporate all three?
I mean, it's tough, but I try to have basically
Because I guess sometimes you work shift, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do work shift. So I try to basically pre-plan. So I would have a schedule where I would fit everything in so that when I know I have national training, I have a certain time frame. I would ensure I let my employers know that. So in case that it falls on a work day, I would be afforded any time off that I could get to attend these training. Yeah.
All right, we need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this. Viewers, you are viewing Scoreboard here on ACTN, and we're talking to the Trinidad and Tobago Rugby captain, Nicolette Pantor. We'll take a break and we'll be right back.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
But my first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
All the time we played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua D'Amatos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. I love you, Messi.
Fortunately,
Kiss the badge, kiss the badge. What's that? Welcome to this edition of The Interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Welcome back. You're watching Scoreboard. We are here with Nicolette Pantor, the captain of the senior women's national team. Nicolette, we know you've had vast experience and amazing times with the national team as well as your club teams. Can you speak a little bit about what you think it takes? What sort of dynamics do you need to make a strong team?
Okay. Well, first things first, making a strong rugby team, you will surely need fitness. you have to have an open mind. Basically, prepare yourself for whatever may come. I mean, it is a contact sport, so you have to be brave, you have to be strong, and also, even if you're not that fit, there is trainings that you can do to reach the level of fitness that you're supposed to be at. You have to have a synergy, because basically everybody is a team sport, so you have to be willing to cooperate with other persons. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as we're speaking about that right now, I'm reminded that there is an open call for the national women's team. Can you give us a few details about how anyone who's interested in playing rugby, any women who are interested in trying out, can make themselves available?
Sure. Well, there will be 3 fitness tests that will include a beep test, where one will be held on the 21st, Saturday morning, at the Harvard's rugby pitch, that is on the Queen's Park, Savannah. There will also be another one on the 25th, which is at Harvard's rugby pitch, also on the Queen's Park, Savannah. And the last but not least, in South, for persons who live in Southern Division who would like to try out for the sport, at the Mani Ramjan Stadium on the 28th of this month, at the Mani Ramjan Stadium, yeah.
What would you all be looking for in these tests? What let's talk to the public now. What this test entails? What are you all going to be looking for? And it's both male and female, or female only you're dealing with for these 3 tests, right?
Okay, yeah, it's just for the females.
Right.
Yeah.
What you all are looking for to get out of those?
Well, we are looking for anything that could assist the team. So if you believe that you have some form of physical ability that you could add to Trinidad and Tobago rugby women's team, and you believe that you could give it your best shot at this fitness test, and you make a certain score at the test, and the coaches are impressed, they would be open to coach and develop that player, even if you are crossing over from another sport. Because, for example, footballers who have the level of fitness, and they would also be able to kick the ball and stuff, their skill set in football could be transferred to rugby, because in rugby also pick conversions and stuff. That footballer could be converted into a great kicker. They may become a great kicker. Also, like for persons in netball, handball, etc., they're accustomed to passing. So it's just to basically, once you have that fitness, you could transition and learn rugby. So whatever your skill sets are, and you think that you're able to try out for the team, doesn't matter your body type, because look at me, I'm small. There are different sizes on the team. It's open for tryouts. You could come out and give it your best shot.
Can you explain what a beep test is?
Okay, a beep test is basically a fitness test where you would be running. You would have a space in which 20 meters that you would have to run. There are different levels, starting from level 1, and I believe it goes as far as level 23 or 22, somewhere like that. But each level, you have to increase your pace. So you will start slow, jogging, and you would have to do a series of running, and each level you'll have to increase that pace, and eventually you will reach a level where you will be sprinting, and that level will be very hard. But I mean, it's all about your mindset. If you work really hard, you could make some high scores.
Right.
Now, let's talk a bit about your involvement in rugby from when you started in 2013, you said? Right. To now. Have the sport grown to the extent where, it's up there with the rest of sports, or female rugby still, struggling to meet? Because I know that you all have gone abroad in tournaments and done pretty well, but not much hurrah is being made of it. What do you think is needed to get sport of rugby? And we're talking rugby, we're focusing more on the female side, to get it up there that it could be one of the sports that could be, in the forefront?
Well, first things first, advertisement, publicity, those kind of stuff. We would always have tournaments, and we don't get the recognition and the support, because a lot of persons, they don't know that there is even a female rugby team. So when you tell persons, I am a member of the Trinidad and Tobago women's rugby team, they'd be like, there is a rugby team for women, I thought it only had a men's team. That's the first response I always get. And why rugby? What do you get from rugby? But as I said, the advertisements, like if we afforded opportunities to spread the game, also where we would have articles in papers, probably shows like this great show here, to let the public know that there are women's rugby players, there are youth under the age of 18, females that are involved in the sport, and they're existing. So it's just basically to get that support from the country, get that support from basically anybody who could give support to publicize this game a lot more, because it's growing in all the other countries and it should be growing at the same rate in Trinidad and Tobago. So hopefully one day it gets to that, but the first things first, we need a lot of advertisement to get it out there so that the public could be aware of it.
What sort of things would you say you've learned from rugby? You've said that you started playing when you're 7, 8 years old. So it's something that's been a part of your entire life. So I guess it might be difficult to take certain things out and say, yes, it was rugby. But are there a few things that you would say, yeah, rugby taught me this?
Yeah, discipline is one. Being a part of a team sport, I have learned to cooperate, because I would say, like, I wasn't really the friendliest person, but being a part of rugby, I was able to meet so many different persons where I would have to engage in conversation, because, you know, certain things that persons may do would make you laugh that you wasn't expecting that. But that's such the great thing about team sport. It fosters a lot of good stuff in terms of, like, as I said, the cooperation, discipline. And it also made me brave, because I was always so shy. I never really used to like to speak a lot on stuff. And being a part of the women's team and being afforded the opportunity to become the captain, I would have to speak a lot to persons and to engage in a lot of conversations with people in high places that you have no choice but to speak, and you have to get the message across. So yeah, that's basically it.
What's it like to be the leader of the pack?
It's amazing.
Especially the smallest.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you're the smallest on the team.
Yeah, one of. They are smaller than me on the team.
Right.
Yeah.
But that leadership role.
I mean, it's amazing, because the woman I play rugby with, I mean, I play rugby with Maria as well. She's a member of the team. So you see the kind of persons that we have on the team.
Because I saw so many players in the police team and they're huge.
Yes, they are. And like, as I said, it's amazing. And I mean, to lead such amazing women and being a young person on the team and getting that opportunity, I mean, they always have positive stuff to teach to me that I could embed in myself and get that out there. But it's a really great experience. Yeah, it's very hard to explain, but it's really great. Yeah.
Long-term goals in rugby. I'm sure that you have inside of here a bigger vision for the sport for yourself. What would you like to accomplish? Would you like, maybe to a contract abroad, or what's rugby hold for you?
Well, long-term goals, if I am able to get a contract abroad, I would take up that opportunity. But where I want to reach in rugby is basically to the point where I could give back. So one day, I would like to become probably a national women's coach, whether it be the under 18 team or the national female team. I would like to impart my knowledge on the younger set of women or men, because I don't have a preference. I would like to coach any team, whether it be under 18s or women's or men's. Probably one day become the national women's coach, or men's coach.
Now, there's no home for rugby presently, right? How do you see that? Or is that affecting the sport, right? Not being able to have a home to call your own, to have all the training done there and all the, everything, being done for rugby right here.
Well, it's hard that we don't have a home. I mean, it would be grateful if we get a place where all rugby players could come, and that, well, when we have in these international competitions, that it actually have a venue to host team to promote tourism, but unfortunately we don't have that. So the effect it has on rugby is it's not really bad, but we have to use basically savannah, and the savannah does not have any light. So basically we are operating within a time frame between 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. or whenever the sun goes down.
Those who work in carriage for 3.
Exactly.
Because I'm sure that rugby, there are those who play rugby that have their 8 to 4 job.
Yes.
And then,
Yeah, and that's really difficult because there are no lights. So we have to operate within that time frame. And as you said, the persons who are working and persons who may be skeptical of coming because they don't want their kids to be out on the savannah in darkness because it's difficult, you know? Yeah.
We often talk about the values of rugby, the camaraderie of rugby, and the community that is created. How do you think that can be affected by not having a home or improved by having a home? I know that the clubs that you've mentioned are clubs that have clubhouses or have venues where everyone can congregate. So comparing somewhere that has that to, well, the national team doesn't have that. What sort of differences do you see in the camaraderie of the team?
Okay, the first difference is that unity, because seeing that the national team does not have that, we are unable to come together after, because usually the place is so dark, so we have to leave after. We can't even hang out with each other. So if we have a venue now where we could engage in other activities, get that bond within players to promote the camaraderie. If we had a venue, we would be able to do this stuff. We would be able to participate in team activities, not just on training days, but on other days where we could spread the game of rugby, because we have this venue where we could use and come together more often and, you know, have that camaraderie.
Okay, we need to take another break. When we come back, we'll continue because there is so much in rugby that we need to really speak about. Just, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
My first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua DeMatos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. Hello, me, Messi.
Fortunately,
Kiss the badge, kiss the badge.
What's that?
Welcome to this edition of The Interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
Welcome back to Scoreboard on ACT and The Voice. We're here with Nicolette Pantor. Nicolette, 2017 was a monumental year, as it was the first year that you were captain of the senior women's national team. I know that team was very, very successful in Miami in the Rugby America's North 10s tournament. Can you speak on that?
Sure. Well, that tournament was one for the book because we won. Trinidad and Tobago women's rugby team, we won that tournament. It was a tough tournament because me coming back onto the rugby team, because I was in training at 2016 and I wasn't able to be a part of the 10s team, which 2016 was the first time they actually participated in that 10s tournament. And being a part of the team and becoming the captain of the team and coming away with the victory against USA in the finals. That was pretty amazing because we had lost to USA in the first game, and being able to regroup and to come up with possibly new tactics that we used, and knowing that we could have done it, and playing this USA side and actually coming away with the victory. I mean, it was pretty amazing, and that win for the team, I mean, everybody on the team was so happy because it was the first win in probably like 2 or 3 years that the team actually accomplished. So it was something great.
Who are some of the bigger name countries that you all have come up against and defeated? You know, those who are in rugby, who control the sport of rugby there.
Okay, well,
you mentioned USA is one, right?
Yeah.
Right. But who are some of the other?
New Zealand. Well, we haven't defeated New Zealand, but they are one of the big names in rugby.
But
they recently...
You all ever came up against them?
Yes, but we came up against them in probably like 5 years ago. We had an opportunity to represent this country in the World 7 Series, Women's 7 Series, where in our group stage we had to face New Zealand. But you could have seen the difference in the level, the skill set, because they were like pretty amazing, and we were like just trying to keep up with what they were bringing to the table. I mean, it was tough, but it also made us realize that there's a lot of work that we have to put in if we want to reach to that level that those great teams are. There's also Australia. Australia Women's Rugby Program is an impeccable program. Where they came from to where they are now, they are really great. There is USA Women's Rugby Team Sevens, and there is Canada, who is in our region, who does pretty well on the World 7 Series. So those are some of the big names in the sport.
When you look at the standard of rugby outside and you look back at the Trinidad level, what's the gap, and how do you all close that gap to be more competitive against the bigger? I know that you all defeated Mexico, but consistently, how do you all intend to close that gap to be up there with the New Zealands and the Australian and the big name team?
Well, first things first, those teams, they are contracted. So they actually receive a salary to play.
Okay, they are professionals.
They are professionals. Okay. So Trinidad Rugby, unfortunately, we are not professional players. But if steps are taken in that direction, I believe that this team, not only Trinidad Rugby, but teams on the whole in Trinidad and Tobago, if players are contracted to play, they would give a better performance, because you know that this is your job, and if there is a possibility that you could lose your job by not giving a certain type of performance, it will increase the performance level of athletes, because these athletes will now know that give your all. We need to win this competition because our job is...
So you're talking along the lines of a pro rugby league,
yeah,
where players can be contracted
to play.
Do you see that? Can that happen in Trinidad?
It could happen in Trinidad, I mean, but it will take a lot of work, a lot of sponsorship, and a lot of belief as well, because for somebody to invest into something, they must be able to get something back that would benefit them. I mean, basically, once they do, the benefit to them is that you're getting your product, or you're getting your investments, you're getting advertisements out there. I mean, it will be great because it will now be known. People would see this, and you may get you might get persons internationally who may be interested, and they may come into this program and invest as well.
But do you think it will be supported? Because why I'm asking that question is because look at the Pro League, the TT Pro League football, right? That's the only pro league we have in Trinidad and Tobago. But the support, I mean, football has a lot of support,
Yeah.
But for some strange reason, the Pro League does not track that support. So do you see that support, spectators-wise, being afforded to rugby if rugby starts, let's say, a Pro League?
Yes, I believe so, because, well, at first, for the startup, it might just be the rugby community, everybody who's involved in rugby or knows about rugby. But once it gets started and the word is out, rugby is a really entertaining sport. Persons would want to see that action. They would want to be involved in that. And I mean, once you get these schools involved and these kids see it and they go back home and they tell their family and their parents, it will spread the game of rugby not only by just seeing it, but by word of mouth. They will go back, they say, Daddy, you know, today, if you see how that man hit that next man a tackle, he said, for real, nobody can tackle harder than me. That father might be interested. He might say, I had to see what you're talking about. So, you know, you spread the sport in that way.
Like in cricket, you have the Test, the 50 overs, and the T20. The T20 is the more popular one right now. So you are looking at rugby sevens as the more popular in all the rugbies, or which one do you think generates the more excitement?
I believe the rugby sevens generate more excitement because it's a shorter version of the game, but it includes everything that the 15 or the 10s may have. It's a little faster, but it is more entertaining. I mean, all rugby is entertaining, but the 7-a-side rugby, you may see stuff that you may just wonder, how did that person do that? Yeah, and you'll be amazed.
From the perspective of playing, because you've had the opportunity to play 15s, 10s, and 7s. I don't know if you've also played beach rugby, which would be 5s.
Yeah.
How can you explain maybe a little bit about the difference, about what sort of skill sets vary, and the amount of, I guess, entertainment value and fun that you have in each type?
Okay. 15-a-side rugby is basically, as I said, it's 15 players on the pitch playing against each other. So you would have an attacking team and you would have an opposing team. And there are various positions on the pitch that each player would be involved in. So compared to the 7s, which is 7 players playing another 7 players, and you would have your substitutes. It's basically a team of 12 in 7s, and I believe it's a team of 23 in 15s, where 15 players would play and 7 versus 7.
Okay.
The time frame of the 7s game is different compared to the 15s game because 7s is 7 minutes per half. 15-a-side rugby is a lot more minutes per half. Beach rugby now, I only ever played beach rugby once. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it could differ because it depends on however the competition is running, many
is there
times.
beach rugby in Trinidad?
No, there isn't, but there was this one time there was a competition which a club hosted, and it was pretty successful. But
So do you think if beach rugby was to return, it would be successful?
Of course, it will be. Trinidad has a lot of beaches, and that could promote the sport through beach rugby.
What's the difference between the beach in comparison to the other? Because I think it's five players at a time, or?
Yeah, beach rugby is 5 players. I believe you could use 7 players. Depends on how big the pitch is to play, however they set it up. But it's basically the same game, but just the
same rules apply.
Same rules apply. But you could either play beach tag or you could play contact on the beach. So, and well, the sand as well. You would have to play on the sand compared to playing on the fields and stuff on the savannah. Yeah.
And I guess having the ocean right there, you have your salt soak afterwards.
Yeah, of course, you take out the penny sea.
Works out nice.
So there's a wide range of things that can be added to the sport of rugby to enhance it. It's just a matter of getting that support financially and bringing more people to look at the sport. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, basically, that's what it's about. The more games that we play in different parts of Trinidad and Tobago, we are able to spread the sport. And most of the time, when we play in areas where rugby has never been experienced before, they are interested. Like 100% of the times, they are interested and they want to try the sport. But because there are no, always up in Port of Spain that you would see rugby being played. Recently, it has been developed to South, where persons in South are able to participate or to try out the game and stuff.
But still, it's only two clubs from South.
2 clubs, yeah, which is Exiles Rugby Youth Club, and there is also Rainbow Sports and Cultural Club located in Marble, and one is in Gaspereau. And other than those 2 clubs, there are no other clubs in South where persons who are interested to start the game. Yeah.
How do the female national team, how do they market themselves? Because what I'm getting at is that you said that sometimes when you talk to people and tell them about a national team, they're totally unaware of that.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of PR marketing that strategy you all use that, you know, to have the faces of the national players out there, you know, if you all go to school and do lectures or, you know, I mean, even instead of going to school, they mightn't have the venue, but just going to the school and talking to the students about rugby. How do you all market yourself?
Well, at the moment, we market through social media. We have a Facebook page, City Women's Rugby Team. We also have an Instagram page, City Women's Rugby Team, at City Women's Rugby Team. That is basically how we market the team. There is also the TTRFU page, Trinidad and Tobago Rugby Football Union page on Facebook. I believe there is one on Twitter as well, where persons could follow. I know that the Trinidad and Tobago Rugby Union, there are youth development officers that would go to schools and would promote the sports and do the lectures and stuff. But as far as the women's national team, it's basically who is available because, as I said, we are not professionals, so it will basically be where we have time off to give lectures.
You'll have his jobs.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, we need to take our final break. When we get back, we will chat a bit about what's in store for the rugby, the national team for the remainder of this year, and what about some of the local competitions that you're going to be hosting. Right, we'll be right back with us after the short break. This is ACTN and you're looking at Scoreboard.
You're now changing your question.
What I would say, Steve, is this.
But my first question was, and roll back that tape.
I made my debut for Crystal Palace against Tottenham Hotspur.
My responsibility was to get the ball and make things happen offensively.
In all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy. Welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. My name is Steve David, and I'm your host.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to another edition of Scoreboard here on ACT, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company every Tuesday evening between the hours of 8 and 9.
Welcome to the new season of Football 101. I am your host, Joshua Dematos.
Well, it's time for your weekly football news update. Hello, Messi.
Fortunately,
Kiss the badge, kiss the badge.
What's that?
Welcome to this edition of The Interview, and as you can see, I'm not alone on the set. I have Marcus, a Liverpool fan, and I have Shakir.
All right, we are back with Nicolette Pantor. She has been telling us so much about rugby and her experience, as well as how other people can get involved in playing rugby. Nicolette, so for the remainder of 2018, what sort of things can we expect to see from rugby?
Okay, so I will start it off by saying the first things up is the fitness test, where persons who are interested in being a part of the national women's rugby team, there are 3 fitness tests that are coming up. First one is the 21st of April at the Queen's Park Savannah Harvard rugby pitch at 10 a.m. There will also be another on the 25th at the Queen's Park Savannah at, I believe it will be 5 p.m. in the afternoon, where persons who are working, they could come out. There will also be another in Southern Division at 10 a.m. at the Maniram John Stadium, South.
No registration fee, anybody could just walk up on that day.
Yeah, you just come out, you walk with your training gear, which is a red t-shirt, and you get the shorts. You can come with a black shorts, and you walk with your sneakers, or if you have a cleat or a tug that you can use, you could do so to run the test on the Savannah. There is also Rebirth on the 29th of, I believe it's May, or where women could be involved in get involved in rugby at Eddie Hart Savannah. it's open for everyone who is interested in the sport. You could come out and give it a try. You could, for more information about that, you could check the TT Women's Rugby page, because I may not be explaining it properly, but you could check the TT Women's Rugby page, and you could also check TTRFU page on Facebook. You would see everything you need to know about the same things that I'm speaking about right now. So for further information, just go to our Trinidad and Tobago Rugby Football Union page or TT Women's Rugby page, and you would see all the details there if you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you so much. That would be, so that sounds like some development that's happening and involving new people. When, to those people who come out to the tryouts and are successful, what sort of things are in store for the national team?
Okay, well, those new persons who are successful in their trials, there is the 7-a-side rugby tournament, which is hosted every year in various countries. It's known as the RAN 7, where in September, we would be competing against the Caribbean region, well, the RAN region. And once successful in that tournament, they will get the opportunity to participate in the qualifiers to get into something bigger in the world of rugby, which is known as the Hong Kong Sevens, where the first place women's team would be afforded the opportunity to participate in the Sevens to get the opportunity to get into the world's, the Women's Sevens series. That is like where you want to be in rugby.
That's the World Cup of Rugby.
Yeah, basically. You get to showcase, you get to showcase your talents, not only for yourself, but for your country. And you would be able to travel to different countries all over the world where rugby would be played against the top countries in the world in rugby.
As you mentioned Barbados, I'm recalling that you actually did an international tour with your club in Barbados. Would you like to speak on the experience with the international teams and the competition that you're up against there?
Yeah. Well, I toured to Barbados with Police Women's Rugby Club last December. It was my first tour. It was pretty amazing playing against these clubs, known clubs in the States like Atlantis Women's Rugby, many clubs. And the competition, it was tough because you see locally where you're at and you believe that you're on top of your game and stuff. And then when you go to this country to play this international sevens tournament and you come up against teams where the competition is tougher and you face them and actually losing games towards them, it makes you realize that never believe that you reach. There's always room for improvement, and there is always a team somewhere out there that is one step ahead of you. So basically, you'll always have to work hard. The competition was really tough, but it also was a learning experience because by facing a stronger team, we was able to lose the game, but we still gained something from that game because when we faced other teams, the structure of the game had changed because we took a thing or two, we gained experience, and we was able to play better games against the stronger teams in that said tournament.
What's the experience like when Police comes up and plays a match against Exile?
Police men's team?
No, well, Exiles have a women's team?
No, not right now. So Exiles don't.
I was trying to get, because I know that your mom and your brothers and everybody is with Exiles and you with Police now. So I want to find out that when the two teams come together, because I mean you obviously you are a supporter of Police because you are a member of the Police team.
Yeah.
Right? But when you have to play Exile,
well,
is it an extension of the banter from home?
Yeah, it is. But I mean, home is where the heart is. So I will always love Exiles Rugby Club and whatever they have to offer, I'll always support. But I would always support Police Rugby team, whether it be the men's and the women's, because I'm a part of that family now. And I appreciate both teams. So I try to support both teams. I wouldn't really say much about that to make myself get targeted now.
Well, I think that's one of the wonderful things about rugby. And I know we've been speaking to you about it in the past, where, you know, you have your teammates and sometimes you're playing them on the same team, and then other times you're playing against them and they're your competition.
Yeah, as I said, it's really amazing because off the pitch, we would be really cool. Like, for example, you and I play for 2 different teams and we are cool off the pitch, and then when it's time to play against each other, we would have to, you know, put the friendly stuff at the side and, you know, showcase our best abilities on the pitch.
If you have to knock out on the pitch.
Yeah, Maria is a hard tackler, so if she had to tackle me hard, she'd do so.
What about for the viewing public? What about like serious injury? How is there a high rate of serious injury in the sport of rugby, or is it just like ordinary sport with football? You get damaged or things like that.
Yeah, it's just like any other sport where you could pick up injuries playing that sport. I mean, and well, rugby, it's so nice that if, for example, if you get a concussion on the pitch, you are not able to continue playing. There are laws in place where certain things may happen on the pitch that they won't allow you to continue playing for your own safety. So there are rules.
When you say allow playing for the jury, that's it for rugby?
No, you could play the game, you could still play the sport, but to protect the one's well-being, at the point in time, if you pick up an injury in the sport, at that point in time in a game, in a particular game,
you don't come back in the game?
No.
Okay.
You have to be physically assessed
first
by a doctor
okay.
first before they would allow you to come back on. So they would always ensure player safety.
So it's not like football, you got damage and the medics and them come and they take you on the side field and they rub your foot and the thing and you come back on. It's nothing like that.
Yeah, it depends on the injury. It depends on how serious the injury is.
Okay.
Well, Nicolette, I know you could speak to that personally, and you could attest to having to be proven fit to come on the pitch from the RAN 7s last year. So
that's the one in Mexico, when you were limping in a game. I saw you, dragging.
Yeah. I got an injury in the game against Dominican Republic, and it was really tough because that was my first serious rugby injury because I never experienced such a thing before. Getting that injury and being assessed and getting that clearance to play, and then realizing that the next game ahead was the most important game, which was the qualifying game to get into the Women's Rugby World Cup in Los Angeles. I was really depressed that I couldn't play the whole game with my team, but being able to still play part of the game and to still give that effort and to show the ladies that, you know, I'm here with you all and we could do this together, it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
We just have about 5 minutes remaining. Anything you'd like to share with us or tell the public of Trinidad and Tobago about the sport of rugby before we wrap up?
Yeah, sure. Trinidad and Tobago, all I'd like to say is that try rugby. You won't regret it. The knowledge you gain from this sport, the positive things that you can gain, it's one that can be compared to no other. I mean, once you get into it, you're going to enjoy it and you will gain a family because rugby, we welcome anyone. Whether you're crossing over from another sport or you never have played a sport before but you have the fitness criteria and you want to try something new, rugby is that sport. And I mean, we welcome anyone. Yeah.
Maria, any close comments?
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for sharing your passion for the sport and showing the examples of how many opportunities can be had and the experiences that you have had with rugby. Thank you, Trinidad and Tobago, for joining us again here on Scoreboard. We are always happy to have you joining us to hear in on the interviews, and we thank you for the opportunity to share rugby with you.
Well, viewers, we have come to the end of another edition here, and if you've missed any part of this program, remember there is a repeat tomorrow at 1 p.m. and you can join us next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. as we continue bringing and showcasing the sport of rugby, because ever so often we are going to be promoting the sport of rugby here on Scoreboard on ACTN. So again, thank you very much and have a blessed week ahead.